Happy birthday to CosmereCasual@gmail.com. Happy birthday to Cosmere Casual, the podcast.
I was going to say, why are you adding these epithets?
I don't know. Happy birthday, dear Cosmere Casual. Happy birthday to us. You.
I was way more on key that time than when we practiced.
I mean, don't tell me that we practiced. Anyway, hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide for the Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. Today, we're actually just taking a moment to bask in ourselves to talk about 2020.
That's very strong wording.
2024 in review. Yeah. And we'll probably, maybe a little bit sounding different because we've been doing some rearranging in the house and we're just sort of, if our acoustics
and
suck.
We're on video. I mean, this will be our third or fourth aired
Second?
episode. Second aired episode on
Maybe
video.
Third. I don't know. I lost, there's such a lag. It's been months since we've recorded, y'all. So we also needed this as a practice. I think it has literally been over a month since we recorded.
The holidays are
right?
a struggle.
I know, right? But today we're celebrating 1 year of Cosmere Casual, at least of us making it, I think, of also publishing episodes.
It's hard for me to realize that because I remember thinking to myself that, we're not going to actually publish until, March or something. And then we were ready before then.
Yeah.
And then you were all of a sudden no, we're publishing the episode at the end of January. And I'm like, what? Because
I tried to do a test run, just to see, hey, what happens if I click this? And then it's oh, it's live. Oh, all right, let's go. We even got more. All right, let's go. So, yeah. But, we're talking about ourselves for this episode. It's just a year in review. Once again.
And maybe we'll do some spoiler-free reminiscing on Wind of Truth since I finished it now.
Okay. Yeah.
A month in.
I don't think there's any spoiler-free reminiscing. Well, whatever. Anyway, my things I wanted to hit for this episode were, to talk about, I guess, revisiting our even entire goal for the podcast, check in, how are we doing, things like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what we said on the podcast, but I thought one of the reasons why I wanted to start this was so that I could understand the Cosmere better. Because, doing a podcast means I actually have to spend time reading and studying. And
studying is such a word.
It is such a word.
It is a word, and I don't like it in this context. This is an escapist fantasy.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I was immersing myself in the Cosmere.
All right, whatever.
Is that better?
No. So, anyway. I guess the three things I wanted to do were revisit our goal for the whole podcast, talk about what we've learned and, what we've learned about podcasting and the Cosmere in 2024 for ourselves. And then, maybe look ahead into what are we trying to do in 2025 and changes or anything going on. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're going to start here.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. And tell people what we expect. Give them what we told them and then tell them what we told them,
Like a good video essay.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Talk about not wanting to study.
So, yeah.
So my goal of wanting to immerse myself in the Cosmere, I think, has worked pretty well.
I mean, yes and no, right? Because, now we don't... feels like we don't read anything else. So, I
read a textbook.
Okay, geez. Yeah.
And some Rick Riordan. And I think I managed to fit in some Sarah J. Maas this year. I can't remember, actually. Maybe not.
I think so, because you were talking about when was our latest book released? Because you were talking about not entirely being satisfied with it.
Oh, I did. Yes, because of the Crescent City series. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, from my goal of for me, this podcast came out of us talking to each other and sometimes to our friends about the Cosmere and the Cosmere lore, and there is a lot to keep track of. And
the conversations went like this. You would say something and I would go, what?
Yeah, right. But also sometimes you would say, I don't remember that.
Well, that's because you speed read and you skip details.
Shut up. I do not. Because
you just admitted that to me earlier today.
That was off my. That was private. Anywho, but at the same time, like, but I do usually do a better job of keeping track of the lore at the same time. And with that one,
No, I won't. I won't refute you that.
So, like, but I guess at the end of the day, where we thought it would be a good thing to do would be just to discuss the Cosmere lore as we go through the books, but like do so in a spoiler sensitive way, because there's a lot of different podcasts out there that are like read along with us, and there's a place and there's an audience for those.
We're not that audience.
But I'm not, like, I find that really tedious, right? I can't imagine recording after every like chapter or 2 chapters. I don't know about you. I can't imagine recording after like each part.
I mean that breaks it up so much that like I wouldn't even be able to keep the whole novel together.
So, you know, and that to me is like, I think one of the things that I really wanted to do with this was discuss and keep track of the lore in a spoiler sensitive way. And that's sort of why we ended up deciding to do pre-read episodes, right?
And post-read, and then Cosmere.
And then Cosmere, right? Because I remember back, we were talking to I think one of your cousins when Tress and the Emerald Sea came out, and I think they had read it before I had gotten to it, and maybe it was a Lost Metal. I don't remember, because they all came out at right about the same time, end of 2023, early 2024. And I was like, I don't know, because I hadn't read everything recently in the Cosmere by then. So I was like, hey, cousin, you've read this. What sort of other Cosmere books do I need to have read for this book that takes place farther in the future? And that was sort of like why we decided to land on pre-read episodes, because there are all these discussions in the fandom about reading order and read Warbreaker before this, but Tress goes well over here or over here, but not in here, and things like that. And so, like, to me, that's the real meat of those. And then the other end, the Cosmere Connections episode, is like drawing the connections between the different lore things over the whole meta series, versus the individual, post-read episodes are like, because there's so much that happens in the finales, right?
Yeah, you want to, you want to value the book in and of itself first.
Yeah.
And then appreciate how it connects to the larger Cosmere. And I think that's very much how Brandon wants people to look at his books.
I think so too. Now, we have talked a little bit about how Stormlight needs to be a little different.
Stormlight breaks everything.
Yes. And do we want to talk about what we're going to do with that?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, because there are... I don't have...
okay, so we're going to do those 3 traditional episodes, but we're also going to do a separate episode just to focus on the interludes.
Yeah, the interludes with each book. So we'll have a pre-read for Way of Kings, a post-read for Way of Kings, an episode just about the interludes and talking about what's going on here. And those will have... The interludes episodes are probably going to be spoilerific for everything in the Cosmere, right? Because there's a lot of Cosmere crossovers that happen, especially in those interludes.
Yeah, because in some cases, like, you get introduced to a character and you have no context for it until later, and it's really just hard to do it without.
And then, are we going to do one about the epigraph specifically, or are we just going to do like special topics, like what's a guardian of shadow and things like that? I forget. We talked about this.
I forget too.
Well, just we know that we're going to need more just to break out that different lore aspects in Stormlight Archive, because I don't know if you've looked at, listener, reader, watcher, whatever we call you, audience people. I don't know if you've seen the size of a Mistborn book, which is, a fairly chunky book, compared to a Stormlight book, which is,
4 times the size.
Yeah. Like, I think the Way of Kings is as long as all of Mistborn Mera 2 in terms of word count. Something like that. They're comparable. So it's kind of a lot and they're dense with lore, but also readable. Man, I really like the Cosmere. I really like Stormlight Archive. I really like all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a awkward segue?
No, I'm still trying to think of what we decided that 5th episode was going to be. There was going to be something about... I thought there was going to be an episode about what to... Like, if you're going to reread it, here's what you want to look out for.
Well, I almost view that as like a...
That was a part of the pre-read.
Yeah, second half of the pre-read, right?
Yeah, maybe maybe when we've slept, we'll come back to our brains for what we said the 5th type of
Yeah,
Scooby.
that's fair. And we haven't actually recorded any of these yet, so like it's all a little bit. We're still in the planning. We're in the
Hopefully, probably not what by this time airs, but yeah.
Whatever. So speaking of detailed planning, like you want to talk about what we've learned in 2024 as podcasters or readers? I can go first because I actually have notes and I thought about this.
I was gonna say, let's go with podcasters first.
Like as a podcast, we came into this. I didn't know how to do Jack Tiddly Squat, and now like I'm actually like okay at Audacity, right? Like I can
by your own estimation.
By my own estimate. Well, and I've got a coworker who comes to me for Audacity advice, so like okay, yeah. And maybe by the time this airs, we'll have Riverside working and doing video, and that'll be cool. And not only that, but like I used to spend like maybe 2 or 3 times as much time editing of an episode as the episode was long. And now it's actually the other way around, where I spend less time editing the episode than it is long. And I think, that's certainly a nice quality of life for me, as, we have kids and like life happen and everything. So background noise is still a struggle. I'm working on that one, and we'll see if rearranging our house does anything with acoustics, but
probably makes it worse because there's more empty space now.
Yeah, whatever.
I did a little bit of Audacity before you took over, and blessedly so.
I don't know. Those first few episodes are really rough. The ones I published, they don't sound good.
Well, which is kind of surprising because that first episode is our most popular one.
That's just because whatever.
I know, because it's the first that shows up in the feed.
You can, whatever.
Did also play around with some social media.
Oh, yeah.
We have a Cosmere Casual Instagram account and Reddit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I knew this before, but definitely know it a whole lot better now. It takes a lot of time and effort to do those things.
And props to you. I don't like social media anymore.
Well, if you noticed, I haven't actually done anything in months.
Hey, don't out yourself like this. This is this is us congratulating ourselves and making it a year. Come on.
Okay. I'm just saying it like it is. Yeah. Tried it. Still have active accounts, and when I get time, I'll post some things, but it's
Yeah. And we've got single digits, I think, greater than 0, but maybe not much. More people, have emailed us. Has anyone emailed us?
No. No one's emailed us.
We haven't had family?
To our personal accounts, not to Cosmere Casual.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, guys, listeners, readers, email us at Cosmere Casual. Like, earnestly, we set up an email account for this. Just like, let us know you're out there listening.
That got real dramatic.
It did. I'm a drama queen. The kids are out of the house. I can be as loud as I want.
Yeah, we don't need a flood of emails, but like 1 or 2 would be cool.
1,000.
You can answer them. That's fine.
Or not.
But what else did I learn as a podcaster? I learned that setting up feeds is okay, but not that great unless if Apple's not nice. Apple's not nice if you don't have Apple products, and then even when you get an Apple product, it's just I'm looking into it because it upsets me.
As a reader, I've learned a lot this year. I've read and reread almost all of these books before. Certainly the ones that we've done episodes about in this past year. But like taking notes and reading closely definitely changes the experience compared to just like, I'm just gonna devour this book for funsies. It's like it's a hobby, and like I'm finding myself becoming more of a critic, not necessarily a harsher critic, but like
you think about it more critically. I think
about it, and like I try to pick it apart and try to figure out, well, why do I like this, and why do I dislike this other thing, and like what was Brando Sando even going for here? Right?
I don't feel like I got it.
Or maybe
or that was so satisfying.
Or like, why did I like that? Or hey, I think I've seen another author do the same thing but very differently, and why different, right? Yeah, some books are definitely much better on a reread. Like I think I hadn't reread. I don't think I'd reread Elantris before, and I certainly hadn't reread Rhythm of War, but we haven't done an episode about that yet. But those were much better on
Rhythm of War. I felt like was much better on my second read than the first.
Right. But also like even things like writing. Yeah, the other thing I noticed is like writing down stuff in like Elantris or White Sand helps me to remember what happened in Rhythm of War better too.
That's why I wanted to do the podcast, because if I did it, then I would remember, maybe.
Yeah, and you were right. And I was skeptical, and you were right.
Thank you. I'll just clip that and I'll play it on repeat.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it all the time, whatever.
Again, I think I knew this before, but just reinforcement of the different ways of interacting with the media, whether it's an audiobook, a paper book, or a Kindle book.
Or that one graphic audio we did.
Or graphic audio. Like every kind of version is just mind-blowing in a different way.
Yeah, and they definitely affect how you enjoy or what you take out of the read.
Yeah, because even though we feel like we have every version of every book of the Cosmere, we don't.
I don't think we have any Mistborn audiobooks.
Now we don't have any of the graphic audio.
Oh, jeez. But those are so expensive, even compared to traditional audiobooks.
But they're awesome.
Yeah, that's yeah. But this is an off-mic conversation to be had about finances.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying we should go out and buy them. I'm just saying we don't have every version.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like it. And I appreciate the different versions for different reasons. But like, yeah.
I gotta say, I was, one of my friends has some leather-bound books, and I got to,
No.
It was, I know.
No.
You don't want to just drop $1,000?
No.
No, me neither. Hey.
Sure. No.
So, talking about someday and looking forward to the future, maybe that's a less bad segue into what we want to do for this next year. Yeah.
Well, actually, before we do that, I would love to kind of go. Spotify spent
crap. I don't want to go through our
seconds on this. What is it? Wrapped. So the top episode was Mistborn: The Final Empire pre-read. Again, that was the first one we published. So shocker there.
Just like trying to sell people on the idea of Mistborn.
Yes. Let's see. For our audience,
I'm really reading our Spotify Wrapped.
The most popular age group was 30 to 34.
Millennials. Us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shocker there as well.
Yeah.
We were streamed in 16 countries.
Really?
Yeah. That's kind of a lot.
I'm pretty sure that's a VPN.
Listen.
I'm just saying.
You're harsh on my vibe.
I am harsh on your vibe.
The United States was the top country.
Obviously, because we're located there. The whole states.
Oh, it says our fans have great taste, obviously. Isn't it so nice? And yeah, all right, I guess it's not as mind-blowing as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, all right, so looking forward to next year.
I also think, we could work things smoother with video. I know, like we got some lighting and stuff for Christmas that I still haven't unpacked.
And maybe like a better background.
What? You mean having our kids' toys in the background isn't?
Or the kitchen, yeah. I mean, I have a pretty cool background that I painted.
What? In your office?
Yeah.
Well, we're not in your office.
No, but if we moved there, then that would be an awesome background, at least for me.
We just need to, get all of the nursery stuff out of there. Anyway. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And get smoother with the video, learn how to edit that better. Because I think, like I said, we've only got a handful of attempts at even doing that, and almost none of those were published.
Yeah, thanks for taking over on the video. I appreciate that. I was failing. I failed. Period.
We both had a lot of other shit going on, and yeah, I mean, no worries. I don't know. I kind of just want to keep going with the podcast at least every 2 weeks, and also throw in some non-Cosmere episodes on off weeks when we have bandwidth for those. Like, I know
I am dying for you to share your thoughts
on ACOTAR. Yes. Well, and personally, I've got a personal New Year's resolution to be a more well-rounded reader, right? And so you might think, Nick, you're going to read some Cormac McCarthy or some Ta-Nehisi Coates or some nonfiction, right? Some Bob Woodward.
No,
nope.
ACOTAR.
Nope.
ACOTAR.
Sarah J. Maas romantasy. Same stuff, but with more sex.
Okay, but you like it.
I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah. And I would actually like to get back to Starside.
Oh, the What is it? The Cytoverse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we
Still
are
Brando Sando?
not caught up on the Cytoverse,
No, we're really not.
and I'd like to be caught up
All right, that's good, But I like I said, I think that
because I
stuff's
think
got to
it's
be.
one of my favorite first books of the series.
It is really good.
So I'm gonna have to reread before we finish.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Like I said, I feel like non-Cosmere stuff. Like the point of our podcast is to really unpack the Cosmere lore, and I think non-Cosmere stuff. That's if we've got extra,
Yeah, I mean that would be an extra. That would be a between.
No, I mean like if we've got bandwidth, if nothing's going on in our lives, which.
But also Cytoverse is awesome.
Yeah, and isn't that just audio poison? Sorry, no, the me reacting and no.
You're the one who has to listen to you over and over again.
Well, or whatever. Yeah.
So what else? All right. So I mean, this next year is going to be focused on Mistborn Era 2.
Mistborn Era 2
Stormlight.
In parallel with Stormlight, right?
Yep.
So I think the cadence we had talked about, because I really enjoyed not reading the entire Mistborn trilogy all right back to back to back. I think that improved my enjoyment of it because I didn't get tired of the setting. I didn't, right? Because Brando Sando writes in a couple of different styles, multiple, more than just a couple, right? Each book has its own, feel, even if it does also feel like a Brando Sando book. And so I just think that me personally as a reader, I would get more enjoyment out of doing a Stormlight book, a Mistborn Era 2, and then a standalone. And I think there's enough books in the Cosmere that we can do that 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we're going to finish. We won't finish Stormlight first arc in this next year. No. We won't get even close doing it that way.
But like that's sort of the pattern I see us doing, right? And I think that also works out really well in terms of like, I think we just accidentally had a pretty good reading order with this podcast, right?
I'm not sure if it was really that accidental, but...
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know.
I mean, we've also said that it doesn't really matter where you start as long as you start at the beginning of a series.
Right. Yeah. That is true.
It's becoming less true as the Cosmere goes on.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about how many different series there are, and like, so I know Mistborn is still a good starting point. So is Warbreaker. So is Elantris. So is Way of Kings. Tress is debatable. Sunlit Man is probably as bad as you can be for a starting point.
Okay, let's stop typing the reading order because that's been debated to death.
Yeah, yes, to death. I don't know, but I don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we just keep going, and if it, the audio gets us some listens and watches, and we get some traction.
So, thank you, listeners and watchers. Thanks, audience, for audiencing to us. Thanks to you for podcasting.
Thanks for podcasting.
We've been Cosmere Casual. Our email address is cosmerecasual@gmail.com. Our is licensed through Tribe of Noise. The artist is Ketsa, and the song is Odyssey.
And until next time, keep your wits about you.